Welcome to this Supervisor tips and tricks video on component grouping. When we talk about grouping components in Supervisor, we're not talking about changing their location in the project tree like we do when we're grouping data. The components will all remain in the same place, but instead we're talking about creating ways to easily select groups of components depending on properties like where they sit in the project tree or the types of component that they are. So there are two parts to grouping components in Supervisor. The first is configuring which components are going to be grouped, and then the second part is actually selecting and interacting with those components. I'm going to start with the second part because Supervisor has some default settings for grouping already in place, so you'll be able to select that group as soon as you open a new project. So for my project here, I'll just expand out these domains so that you can see. If I select something like one of the histogram components, and now I'm just going to hold the Shift key on my keyboard, and you can see all three of these histogram components that fall under this DDH domain are all highlighted. I can do a similar thing if I select this gold assay and hold down Shift. It's now selected every gold assay that falls under each of these domains. From here you can right click and say if we wanted to add a box and whisker plot. Now it'll add those plots under every assay that was selected. So it can speed up doing bits and pieces like that. But we can configure which components are part of this group. So to do that, you can pretty much select any component in the project tree and they will all have this component tab over in the property panel. And we've got this group by section. And the settings that are selected in here essentially determine what is going to be selected when we hold down that Shift key in the project tree. At the moment, I have name selected, so components with the same name, but they also have to be part of whatever is in this drop-down. So for me, I've got this set to the entire project. So that's why it's going to set out for this gold assay, all of the gold assays in this project. Whereas this histogram, I've been playing with it earlier, and so it's set to type, so it's going to select components of the same type, which would be other histograms, and it's controlled by the D type domain. So that is each of these domains here are under the column of D type. So it's only able to select these histogram components that fall under this same domain. So you can select multiple of these settings. Any of the components that you want to be part of the group have to meet the criteria of all of the selected boxes here. And then, of course, they all have to fall under this same level in the hierarchy. Grouping by ID is a little bit more complex, so that's something that we'll cover in a future video. Thank you for watching this Supervisor tips and tricks video. As always, more information can be found in the Supervisor help documentation linked in the description below.